The alarm clock didn't go off. Of course it didn't. Nothing seemed to go right anymore. Rebecca threw off the thin blanket and jumped out of bed, her heart already racing. The phone screen showed 7:42 a.m. Her interview was at 9:12 downtown, and the bus ride alone would take 40 minutes. She had exactly 1 hour and 18 minutes to get herself ready, wake up the kids, drop them at her neighbor's place, and somehow make it across the city. Tommy. "Lily, wake up, babies!" she called out while rushing to the bathroom. The apartment was small, just 2 bedrooms that she could barely afford even before losing her job. Now, with the eviction notice sitting on the kitchen counter, she wasn't sure how much longer they'd even have this place. Her 7-year-old son appeared in the doorway, rubbing his eyes. "Mom, I'm hungry." "I know, sweetheart. There's cereal in the cabinet. Can you pour some for you and your sister?" Mommy has to get ready really fast. She looked at herself in the mirror. The dark circles under her eyes told the story of too many sleepless nights. 3 months. That's how long it had been since the restaurant closed down. 3 months of sending out applications, going to interviews, and hearing nothing back. 3 months of watching her savings disappear, of choosing between electricity and groceries, of telling her kids that maybe they could get new shoes next month. But today was different. Today she had a real chance. The job was for a customer service position at a company downtown. The pay wasn't amazing, but it was steady. It came with benefits, health insurance, dental, things she used to take for granted. The woman on the phone had sounded encouraging, said they were impressed with her experience. Rebecca had worked in customer service for years before taking the restaurant job. She knew she could do this work. She just needed someone to give her the chance. She pulled on her only interview outfit, a navy blue dress that she'd worn to at least 6 other interviews in the past few months. It was getting loose on her. She'd lost weight, not from any diet plan, but from the kind of stress that makes food taste like cardboard. She added a cardigan to hide the small stain on the side that wouldn't come out no matter how many times she washed it. "Okay, guys, let's go." She grabbed her folder with copies of her resume, tucked her phone into her purse, and ushered both kids out the door. Mrs. Chen from across the hall had agreed to watch them. The elderly woman never asked for money, which was good because Rebecca didn't have any to give. She made a mental note to bake her something nice once she got that first paycheck. The bus was late. Of course it was. Rebecca stood at the stop checking her phone every 30 seconds. 8:23, 8:24, 8:25. Where was it? She couldn't afford an Uber. She'd checked her bank account that morning. $47. That was it until she figured something out. The bus finally wheezed around the corner at 8:31. She found a seat near the back and tried to calm her racing thoughts. She rehearsed answers to interview questions in her head. Why do you want this position? Why should we hire you? What's your greatest weakness? She'd read all the articles online about how to nail an interview. She just needed to stay calm and confident. The bus hit every red light. Every single one. By the time Rebecca got downtown, it was 8:47. 13 minutes, She had 13 minutes to find the building, get through security, and make it to the 12th floor. She half walked, half ran down the sidewalk, her heels clicking against the pavement. The address was 450 Commerce Street. She scanned the building numbers. 380, 400, 425. There. 450. The building was taller than she expected, all glass and steel, the kind of place where successful people worked. She pushed through the revolving door and rushed to the security desk. The guard, a middle-aged man with kind eyes, checked her ID and handed her a visitor badge. 12th floor, she said breathlessly. "Elevators are right there, ma'am. Have a good day." She practically ran to the elevator bank. There were 4 elevators, and she pressed the up button repeatedly as if that would make one arrive faster. Finally, the far left elevator dinged and the doors slid open. She stepped inside and immediately hit the button for the 12th floor. Just as the doors started to close, a hand shot through, triggering the sensor. The doors opened again and a man stepped in. He was probably in his mid-50s, wearing an expensive-looking suit, the kind with perfect tailoring that Rebecca had only seen in magazines. His silver hair was neatly combed, and he carried a leather briefcase that probably cost more than her rent. He nodded politely at her and pressed the button for the 18th floor. The doors closed and the elevator began to rise. Rebecca checked her phone. 8:51, she'd make it. Just barely, but she'd make it. Then the elevator jolted. It wasn't a big movement, just a sudden stop that made her grab the railing. The lights flickered once, twice. The elevator hummed, made a strange grinding noise, and then went completely still. They weren't moving. "Oh no," Rebecca whispered. "No, no, no." The man pressed the door open button. Nothing happened. He pressed it again, holding it down this time. Still nothing. He reached for the emergency call button, the red one with the phone symbol, and pressed it firmly. "Hello? This is elevator 3. We've stopped between floors." Static crackled through the speaker, then a garbled voice. "Can you—" "Your location?" "Elevator 3. We're stuck between floors. 2 passengers inside, more static." The voice came back clearer this time. "Maintenance has been notified. Please remain calm. Someone will be there as soon as possible." As soon as possible. Those words echoed in Rebecca's head. She looked at her phone. 8:53. Her interview was in 7 minutes. She was trapped in an elevator with a complete stranger, and her one shot at getting her life back together was slipping away. Her hands started to shake. The folder slipped from her grip and papers scattered across the elevator floor. Her carefully prepared resumes, her list of references, her notes about the company, all of it spread out at her feet like broken dreams. I can't be stuck here," she said, her voice cracking. "I have an interview. I have to get to an interview." The man bent down and started gathering her papers. "Let me help you with these," he said quietly. His voice was calm, steady. "I'm sure maintenance will have us out soon." But Rebecca could feel it all crumbling. The weight of 3 months of rejection, of bills piling up, of her kids asking questions she couldn't answer, it all came crashing down in that small metal box. She sank down against the wall, clutching her phone, watching the minutes tick away. Beeve 8:56, 8:57. Her interview was starting. Right now. Without her, and she was trapped. Rebecca stared at her phone screen as the time changed to 9:01. 1 minute passed. They were starting without her. Right now, someone in human resources was probably looking at the empty chair across from them, checking their watch, wondering where she was. "I should call them," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. Her fingers hovered over the screen, but what would she even say? "Hi, I'm stuck in an elevator in your building?" It sounded like the worst excuse in the world, even though it was true. The man had collected all her papers and was now sitting against the opposite wall, holding the neat stack out to her. She took them, mumbling a thank you, and shoved them back into her folder. What did it matter now? The interview was happening without her. "I'm sure they'll understand," the man said. "These things happen. Elevators break down." Rebecca let out a bitter laugh. "You don't understand. This was my only shot. I've been unemployed for 3 months. 3 months. Do you know what that's like? Watching your kids eat cereal for dinner because that's all you have left in the house? Getting an eviction notice and knowing you can't pay it?" She hadn't meant to say all that. She didn't even know this man. But something about being trapped, about watching her chance disappear, made the words spill out like water from a broken dam. "I'm sorry," she said quickly, wiping her eyes. "I shouldn't dump this on you. You probably have somewhere important to be, too." He was quiet for a moment. Then he set his briefcase down and leaned back against the elevator wall. "I did have a meeting, but it can wait. And you're not dumping anything on me. Sometimes we all need someone to talk to." Rebecca looked at him properly for the first time. His suit was expensive, yes, but his eyes were kind. Not the kind of pity she'd seen from others, but something else. Understanding, maybe. "I'm David," he said, extending his hand. "Rebecca." She shook his hand, feeling a bit foolish. Here they were, stuck between floors, doing formal introductions. David pressed the emergency button again. This time the response was quicker. "Maintenance is working on it," the voice crackled through. "We're looking at about an hour, maybe 90 minutes. An hour." Rebecca felt her stomach drop. She pulled out her phone and dialed the number for the company. It rang 4 times before someone picked up. "Hello, this is Rebecca Martinez. I had a 9 o'clock interview with Jennifer in Human Resources. I'm so sorry, but I'm stuck in the elevator in your building. The elevator broke down and I can't get out." There was a pause on the other end. "Hold on, let me transfer you." Elevator music played. The irony wasn't lost on her. She was literally stuck in an elevator listening to elevator music. A woman's voice came on. "Ms. Martinez? This is Jennifer. You're stuck in the elevator?" "Yes, I'm so sorry. I got here on time, I swear. I was on my way up and it just stopped. Maintenance says it'll be at least an hour." Another pause. "I see. Well, unfortunately, I have back-to-back interviews scheduled all day. I don't have another opening this week." Rebecca's heart sank. Please, is there any way we could reschedule? Or do a phone interview? I really need this job. I'm a single mom and I've been out of work for months and I'm sorry, Ms. Martinez. We have several other qualified candidates. I'll keep your resume on file. Thank you. The line went dead. Rebecca stared at her phone, unable to believe what just happened. Qualified candidates on file. Those were the polite ways of saying no. She'd heard them before, but this time felt different. This time she'd been so close. They said no, she said flatly. Just like that. They said no. David shook his head. That's rough. I'm sorry. It's my own fault, Rebecca said, her voice hollow. I should have left earlier. I should have planned better. I always do this. I always mess things up. Hey, stop that. David's voice was firm but not unkind. An elevator breaking down isn't your fault. You got here on time. You did everything right, did I? Rebecca looked at her worn dress, her scuffed shoes. Look at me. I'm wearing the same outfit I wore to every interview for the past 3 months. The same dress with a stain I can't get out. Maybe they would have said no anyway. Maybe I'm just not good enough. That's not true. You don't know that. You don't know me. David was quiet again. Then he said, Can I tell you something? I grew up in a neighborhood where most people didn't graduate high school. My mom worked 3 jobs to keep us fed. 3 jobs, and sometimes we still didn't have enough. I wore the same pair of shoes for 2 years because we couldn't afford new ones. When they got holes in them, I put cardboard inside so my socks wouldn't get wet when it rained. Rebecca looked up at him, surprised. This man in his expensive suit and perfect hair had worn shoes with holes in them. I'm not telling you this for pity, David continued. I'm telling you because I know what it's like to feel like you're not good enough. To walk into rooms where everyone looks like they belong except you. But here's what I learned. The hard times, the struggles, they don't make you less qualified. They make you stronger. They teach you things people who've had it easy will never understand. Like what? Rebecca asked quietly. Like resilience. Like creativity. Like how to make a dollar stretch to feed your kids. Those are skills, Rebecca. Real skills. Any company would be lucky to have someone who knows how to push through when things get tough. Rebecca felt tears welling up again. But this time, they were different. I used to be so good at my job. Before I had to take the restaurant work. I was in customer service for 8 years. I loved it. Helping people solve problems, making their day a little better. But then childcare got too expensive and I had to find something with night shifts so my neighbor could watch the kids. And then the restaurant closed and now I can't even get anyone to give me a chance. Tell me about your kids, David said. How old are they? The question caught her off guard. Tommy's 7. Lily just turned 5. They're good kids. Really good kids. They don't complain even when I know they notice we're having spaghetti for the 4th night in a row. Tommy told his teacher he wants to be an astronaut. Lily wants to be a veterinarian. And I'm terrified I'm going to let them down. That they'll remember these years as the time Mom couldn't keep it together. They won't remember it that way, David said. They'll remember that you fought for them. That you never gave up. My mom used to come home exhausted, falling asleep in her work uniform because she was too tired to change. But you know what I remember most? How she always tucked me in, no matter how tired she was. Every single night, your kids will remember that you love them. Everything else is just noise. Rebecca wiped her eyes with the back of her hand. How did you go from cardboard in your shoes to... She gestured at his suit. David smiled. A lot of hard work. A lot of rejection. And a few people who gave me chances when they didn't have to. People who saw past the worn-out clothes and heard what I was actually saying. I wish more people were like that, Rebecca said. There are more than you think. You just have to keep showing up until you find them. They sat in comfortable silence for a while. The elevator was warm, stuffy even, but Rebecca felt something shift inside her. The panic was still there, but it wasn't drowning her anymore. David pulled out his phone and made a call. Hey, it's me. I'm stuck in an elevator. Yeah, I'm fine. Can you push my 9:30 back? Actually, clear my whole morning. Something more important came up. He hung up and looked at Rebecca. So tell me about your customer service experience. What made you good at it? Rebecca blinked. Why? Because we're stuck here anyway. And because I'm curious. Humor me, so she told him. About the difficult customers she'd won over. About the system she'd created to track recurring issues. About the time she'd stayed 2 hours past her shift to help an elderly man figure out his billing problem, because no one else would take the time. And David listened. Really listened. Asked questions. Took notes on his phone. 30 minutes passed, then 45. Rebecca found herself talking more than she had in months. Not about her problems, but about her strengths. About what she was good at. About what she could offer. For the first time in a long time, she didn't feel like she was begging for scraps. She felt like someone actually valued what she had to say. The elevator suddenly lurched and they both grabbed the railings, but it didn't move. "Still working on it," came the voice through the speaker. "Another 30 minutes, probably." David looked at Rebecca and smiled. "Good. That gives us more time to talk." David scrolled through something on his phone, then looked up at Rebecca. "So you mentioned you created a tracking system for customer issues. Tell me more about that." Rebecca shifted against the wall, tucking her legs underneath her. They'd been sitting on the elevator floor for almost an hour now, and somehow it felt less like being trapped and more like having the strangest job interview of her life. "It wasn't anything fancy," she said. "The company I worked for, they kept having the same problems come up over and over. Customers would call about their orders being delayed or the wrong items getting shipped. And every time we'd solve it for that one person, but then the next week 10 more people would call with the exact same issue. So what did you do?" "I started keeping a spreadsheet. Just a simple one. Every time I got a call, I'd note what the problem was, which department it involved, how long it took to fix. After a few weeks, I could see patterns. Like every Monday, we'd get a flood of calls about weekend orders not processing. Turns out the system wasn't syncing properly over the weekend." David leaned forward, interested. "Did you bring this to your supervisor?" "I did. She thought I was overstepping at first. I was just supposed to answer calls and move on to the next one. But I showed her the data and she couldn't argue with it. We fixed the weekend syncing issue and those calls dropped by almost 70%. It freed up the whole team to handle other stuff." "That's not just customer service," David said. "That's problem solving. That's initiative. That's exactly what every company needs, but most people don't bother to look for patterns. They just deal with whatever's in front of them and move on." Rebecca felt a warmth in her chest that had nothing to do with the stuffy elevator. It just made sense to me. Why keep putting out the same fire when you could figure out what's starting it? "Exactly." David made another note on his phone. "What else?" "Tell me about dealing with difficult customers. Everyone says they're good with people, but what does that actually mean to you?" Rebecca thought for a moment. "It means listening. Really listening. Most people who call angry aren't actually angry at you. They're frustrated because something didn't work the way it was supposed to. Their order didn't arrive, or they got charged twice, or they've been transferred 5 times. They just want someone to hear them and fix it." Sounds simple when you put it that way. It is simple, but a lot of people forget that. They get defensive, or they rush through scripts, or they try to pass the person off to someone else. I always thought, if I treat every caller like they're my neighbor who needs help, it goes better. You wouldn't brush off your neighbor. You'd want to actually solve their problem. David nodded slowly. Your neighbor. I like that. It's human. Companies forget that there are real people on both ends of every call. They talked more. David asked about how she handled stress, how she prioritized tasks, what she would do in different scenarios. Rebecca answered honestly, pulling from years of experience she'd almost forgotten she had. In the chaos of losing her job and scrambling to survive, she'd stopped thinking about what she was actually good at. "Can I ask you something?" Rebecca said after a while. "Of course. Well, why are you doing this? Asking me all these questions?" "We're just 2 people stuck in an elevator." David set his phone down. "Honestly? Because I see something in you. That fire, that determination. You could have spent this whole time feeling sorry for yourself. And believe me, you'd have every right to. But instead, you're sitting here telling me about systems you built and problems you solved. That tells me something about who you are. But you don't even know me. Not really. I know enough. I've interviewed hundreds of people over the years. Maybe thousands. You know what most of them have in common? They tell me what they think I want to hear. They rehearse answers about their greatest weaknesses being that they're perfectionists or they work too hard. It's all performance." Rebecca felt her cheeks flush. She'd literally rehearsed those exact answers on the bus. "But you," David continued, "you're not performing. You're just being real, and that's rare." "That's valuable." The elevator speaker crackled to life again. "We've almost got it. Maybe 15 more minutes. Sorry for the delay, folks. 15 minutes. Soon this strange, unexpected conversation would be over." Rebecca would walk out into the lobby, and David would go to his meeting on the 18th floor, and life would go back to normal. Back to searching job boards and dropping off applications and hearing nothing. What were you interviewing for? David asked. You mentioned customer service, but what specifically? It was for a company on the 12th floor. Some kind of tech support position, answering calls, solving technical issues, that sort of thing. The pay was decent. Nothing amazing, but it had benefits. Health insurance, dental, things I really need right now. The 12th floor, David repeated, something shifting in his expression. Do you remember the company name? Datalink Solutions, why? David smiled slightly. I know them. Actually, I know the president. We've done business together for years. Rebecca's heart skipped. Really? Really. They're good people. They treat their employees well. He paused, seeming to consider something. What if I made a phone call? Explained the situation? No. The word came out before Rebecca could stop it. No, I appreciate it, but I can't. I don't want charity. I don't want to be the sad case someone felt sorry for. It's not charity. It's a professional referral. There's a difference, is there? Rebecca looked down at her hands. You don't know if I'm actually good at what I do. You've just heard me talk about it. What if you put your reputation on the line and I turn out to be terrible, then you look bad, and I get fired anyway and it's just more failure? David was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was gentle. Can I tell you something my mother used to say? She'd tell me pride is expensive. Sometimes you can't afford it. I used to get so mad at her for saying that. I thought she was telling me to take handouts to be weak, but that's not what she meant. Then what did she mean? She meant that sometimes accepting help isn't weakness. It's wisdom. We're not supposed to do everything alone. Nobody makes it alone. Every successful person you've ever heard of had someone somewhere who gave them a shot, who opened a door, who made a call. That's not charity. That's how the world actually works. Rebecca felt tears threatening again. She was so tired of crying. I just want to earn it. I want to know that I got the job because I deserved it, not because someone felt bad for me. Then earn it, David said simply. I'll make the call, but you'll do the interview. You'll be the one they hire or don't hire. All I'm doing is making sure you get the chance to show them what you can do. The rest is up to you. She looked at him. This stranger in his expensive suit who'd spent an hour listening to her talk about spreadsheets and customer calls. Why would you do that for me? Because someone did it for me once. When I was 23, broke, with a kid on the way and no prospects. A woman I met at a coffee shop spent 30 minutes talking to me, just talking. And then she handed me her business card and told me to call her office. Said she might have something for me. That conversation changed my life. What happened? I got the job. Started at the bottom, worked my way up. Learned everything I could. Failed plenty of times, but I kept going. And I promised myself that if I ever got to a place where I could do the same for someone else, I would. Not because I'm some saint, but because I remember what it feels like to need just one person to believe in you. The elevator lurched again, and this time it actually moved. Slowly, incredibly slowly, it began descending. We're moving, Rebecca said. Looks like it. David stood up and offered her his hand. She took it, letting him pull her to her feet. Her legs were stiff from sitting so long. So what do you say? David asked. Will you let me make that call? Rebecca looked at him. Really looked at him. At the kindness in his eyes, the sincerity in his expression. She thought about Tommy and Lily, about the eviction notice, about cereal dinners. She thought about pride and wisdom and her mother's voice telling her that asking for help doesn't make you weak. Okay, she said quietly. Okay, thank you, David smiled. Don't thank me yet. You still have to ace the interview. The elevator dinged. They were passing the 5th floor, 4th, 3rd. There's something else, David said. He reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a business card. This is me. My company is on the 18th floor. We're always looking for good people. If the data link thing doesn't work out, or even if it does and you want to explore options later, call me. We might have something even better suited to what you're looking for. Rebecca took the card. It was heavy, expensive feeling. David Morrison, Chief Executive Officer. The company name made her eyes widen. She'd heard of them. Everyone had heard of them. You're the CEO, she managed to say. Guilty as charged. And you spent an hour sitting on an elevator floor talking to me about customer service? Best meeting I've had all month, David said with a grin. The elevator reached the ground floor. The doors slid open. The lobby was chaos. At least a dozen people stood waiting near the elevator bank. Security guards, maintenance workers in uniform. A woman in a sharp business suit clutching a tablet. The moment the doors opened, they all turned to look. "Are you both all right?" The woman with the tablet rushed forward. "We've been so worried. The system showed the elevator stopped for over 90 minutes. "We're fine," David said calmly, stepping out. "Just a bit warm. Your maintenance team did a good job keeping us updated." Rebecca followed him out on shaky legs. The cool air of the lobby felt like a blessing after the stuffy elevator. She could feel everyone's eyes on her, and suddenly she was very aware of her wrinkled dress, her folder of papers that now seemed so pointless. One of the maintenance workers started apologizing profusely. "We're so sorry for the inconvenience. This has never happened before. We've been doing upgrades to the system and something must have—" "It's okay," David interrupted gently. "These things happen. No one was hurt." The woman with the tablet was typing frantically. "Mr. Morrison, your 9:30 meeting has been rescheduled, and your assistant has been calling. Should I let her know you're—" "Give me a few minutes, Patricia," David said. Then he turned to Rebecca. "Wait here for just a second, okay?" He walked a few steps away and pulled out his phone. Rebecca stood awkwardly in the middle of the lobby, feeling like she was on display. Some people were drifting away now that the drama was over, but a few still lingered, curious. She checked her own phone. It was 10:38, almost 2 hours since she'd stepped into that elevator. 2 hours that felt like a lifetime. She had 3 missed calls from Mrs. Chen and a text asking if everything was okay. Rebecca quickly typed back that she was fine, just running late. David was talking quietly on the phone, one hand gesturing as he spoke. Rebecca couldn't hear what he was saying, but she could see his expression. He was smiling. That had to be good, right? Or maybe he was just being polite. Maybe he was going to come back and tell her he'd tried, but there was nothing they could do. Her stomach churned. She shouldn't have let him make the call. She should have just left, gone home, started looking for other jobs. This was going to be worse than a regular rejection because now she'd gotten her hopes up. David ended the call and walked back to her, still smiling. "Okay, so here's what's happening. I just talked to Michael, the president of DataLink Solutions. He's a friend of mine and I explained the situation." Rebecca held her breath. "He feels terrible about what happened. He said Jennifer, the HR person you talked to, had no idea you were actually in the building when you called. She thought you were making an excuse." "I wasn't," Rebecca said quickly. "I swear I wasn't lying. I know. And now Michael knows too. He wants to meet with you. Right now, actually. If you're up for it." Rebecca's heart hammered in her chest. "Right now? But I've been stuck in an elevator for almost 2 hours. I must look terrible. You look fine. You look like someone who got stuck in an elevator and handled it with grace. That's actually impressive if you think about it." "I cried," Rebecca pointed out. "You were human. There's nothing wrong with that." David gestured toward the elevator bank. "12th floor. Michael's expecting you. Just give your name at the reception desk." Rebecca stared at him. This was really happening. She was getting her interview after all. "I don't know what to say. Thank you doesn't seem like enough." "Then don't say anything. Just go up there and show them what you're made of." "And Rebecca?" He waited until she met his eyes. "Stop selling yourself short. You've got more to offer than you realize." She nodded, not trusting her voice. Then she turned toward the elevators and stopped. I can't get back in there." David understood immediately. "The stairs are right through that door. 12 flights. Think you can handle it?" "Yeah," Rebecca said, grateful. "Yeah, I can handle that." She pushed through the door to the stairwell, her heels clicking on the concrete steps. 12 floors. She could do 12 floors. Her legs already ached from sitting on the elevator floor, but she pushed through it. This was her shot. Her real shot. By the time she reached the 12th floor, she was breathing hard and her calves were burning. She paused at the door to catch her breath, to smooth down her dress, to try to pull herself together. Then she pushed through into a bright, modern office space. The reception desk was right in front of her, and a young man with glasses looked up and smiled. "Can I help you?" "I'm Rebecca Martinez. I have an appointment with Michael." "Oh yes, he said you'd be coming up. Just give me 1 second." He picked up the phone, said something quietly, then hung up. "He'll be right out." Rebecca stood there, trying not to fidget. The office was nicer than anywhere she'd worked before. Glass walls, modern furniture, plants everywhere. Through the windows, she could see people working at desks, talking in conference rooms. It looked like the kind of place where people enjoyed coming to work. A door opened, and a man in his 40s walked out. He was tall with graying hair and an easy smile. "Rebecca? I'm Michael. I'm so glad you could make it up. I heard you had quite an adventure this morning." "That's one way to put it," Rebecca said, shaking his hand. "Come on back to my office. I've got to say, David spoke very highly of you, and he's not someone who gives compliments lightly." They walked through the office space, past cubicles and glass-walled meeting rooms. People glanced up, smiled, went back to their work. It felt friendly, comfortable. Michael's office was corner space with huge windows overlooking the city. He gestured to a chair across from his desk. "Please sit. Can I get you some water? Coffee?" "Water would be great, thank you." He grabbed 2 bottles from a small fridge and handed her one. Then he sat down and leaned back in his chair. "So I owe you an apology. Jennifer should have been more understanding this morning. I've already spoken with her about it. An elevator malfunction is obviously not your fault." "I appreciate that," Rebecca said. "I understand she had other interviews scheduled. I don't want to take up time that was meant for someone else. Actually, you know what? I think I'd rather do this interview myself, if that's okay with you. I like to meet people who come highly recommended." Rebecca's hands tightened on the water bottle. Highly recommended. David had really talked her up. Now she had to live up to it. "I'd be honored," she said. "Great, so tell me about yourself. What brings you to DataLink?" And she talked. She told him about her customer service background, about the tracking system she'd created, about how she approached difficult situations. She told him about losing her job when the restaurant closed, and how she'd been looking for something that would let her use her skills again. Michael listened, asking questions, taking notes. He didn't seem rushed or distracted. He genuinely seemed interested in what she had to say. "You mentioned you created a system for tracking recurring issues," he said. "That's exactly the kind of initiative we need here. We're growing fast, and we need people who can spot problems before they become disasters." "That's always been my strength," Rebecca said. "I like finding patterns. I like making things run smoother." They talked for 45 minutes. About the job, about the company culture, about what DataLink was looking for. Michael explained that the position involved handling technical support calls, but also analyzing data to improve their processes. It sounded perfect. It sounded like exactly what she was good at. Finally, Michael set down his pen and looked at her directly. "Rebecca, I'm going to be honest with you. When David called me, my first instinct was to be skeptical. CEOs call each other all the time with recommendations, and sometimes it's just them doing a favor for someone's nephew or their golf buddy's kid. But he told me you two just met this morning, that you got stuck in an elevator together, and in that hour and a half he saw something in you that made him pick up the phone." Rebecca waited, barely breathing. "I've known David for 15 years. He's one of the sharpest people I've ever met. And if he thinks you're worth my time, then you're worth my time. So here's what I want to do. I'd like to offer you the position. Starting salary is $52,000, with full benefits starting on day 1. Health insurance, dental, vision, and we offer childcare assistance for employees with young kids. $400 a month to help with daycare costs." Rebecca felt the room spin. 52,000, benefits, childcare assistance. It was more than she'd hoped for. More than she'd even thought to ask for. "There's a probationary period," Michael continued. "First 90 days. If it's not working out for either of us, we part ways. But I don't think that's going to happen. David's instincts are usually spot on." "I don't know what to say," Rebecca managed. "Say yes," Michael said with a smile. "Say you'll start Monday." "Yes," Rebecca said. The word came out as almost a whisper. "Yes, absolutely yes." Michael stood and extended his hand. "Welcome to DataLink, Rebecca." She shook his hand, still trying to process what had just happened. She had a job, a real job, with benefits, with childcare help. She could pay her rent. She could buy her kids new shoes. She could stop choosing between electricity and groceries. "Thank you," she said. "Thank you so much. I promise you won't regret this." "I don't think I will," Michael said. "Now let's get you down to HR to do some paperwork. Jennifer will get you all set up with everything you need." As they walked out of his office, Rebecca's phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "How'd it go?" It had to be David. She typed back quickly. "I got the job." 3 dots appeared immediately. Then, "Told you. Congratulations. You earned it." And as Rebecca followed Michael down the hallway toward the HR department, she realized something. Maybe she had earned it. Maybe she really was as good as David seemed to think she was. Maybe, just maybe, things were finally going to be okay. Rebecca sat in the HR office, signing paper after paper. Her hand was shaking slightly and she had to concentrate to keep her signature steady. Jennifer, the same woman who'd dismissed her on the phone earlier, kept apologizing. "I feel terrible about this morning," she said for the third time. "I really thought you were making an excuse. We get that sometimes, you know, people who just don't show up and then call with wild stories." "It's okay," Rebecca said, though part of her wanted to stay angry. But what was the point? She had the job. That's what mattered. "It's not okay," Jennifer insisted. "Michael made that very clear to me. I should have given you the benefit of the doubt. I should have offered to reschedule right away." She slid another form across the desk. "This one's for direct deposit. You'll get your first check 2 weeks from Friday." 2 weeks from Friday. Rebecca would have money coming in. Real, steady money. She could already picture going to the grocery store without calculating every item, buying fresh fruit, getting that new winter coat Tommy needed. The paperwork took another 30 minutes. Tax forms, emergency contacts, employee handbook acknowledgement, benefits enrollment. Rebecca chose the health insurance plan that covered both her kids. Dental too, and she signed up for the childcare assistance without hesitation. $400 a month would mean she could afford a proper daycare instead of constantly relying on Mrs. Chen. "You're all set," Jennifer finally said, stacking the papers neatly. "Your start date is Monday, 8:30 a.m. Dress is business casual. We'll do orientation in the morning and then you'll shadow one of our senior representatives for the rest of the week." "Thank you," Rebecca said. "I'm really looking forward to it." She left the HR office in a daze. It was nearly noon now. The morning that had started so desperately had turned into something she could barely believe. She made her way to the elevator bank, then stopped. The stairs. She'd take the stairs. As she walked down the 12 flights, her phone rang. "Unknown number," she answered cautiously. "Rebecca, it's David. Do you have a minute?" "Of course. I'm just leaving the building now." "Great. Can you meet me in the lobby? There's something else I wanted to discuss with you." Her stomach fluttered with nerves. "Sure, I'll be right there." She picked up her pace, taking the stairs 2 at a time now. What else could there be? She already had the job. What more could he possibly want to talk about? When she reached the lobby, David was standing near the security desk, still looking as put together as he had that morning despite spending 90 minutes trapped in an elevator. He smiled when he saw her. "Congratulations," he said. "Michael texted me. He's really excited to have you on the team." "I still can't believe it happened," Rebecca admitted. "This morning I thought my life was falling apart, and now you've got a fresh start." David gestured toward the seating area in the corner of the lobby. "Can we sit for a minute?" They sat in 2 leather chairs near the windows. Outside, the city bustled with lunch-hour traffic. People rushing to meetings, grabbing food, living their busy lives. Rebecca felt like she was watching it all from somewhere else, like she'd stepped into a different reality. "So here's the thing," David said. "I meant what I said earlier about my company. We're always looking for good people. And I think you might be an even better fit for what we do than for DataLink." Rebecca's heart sank a little. "I just accepted the job with Michael. I gave him my word. I know and I respect that. I'm not asking you to back out. Michael's a good guy, and DataLink is a solid company. You'll learn a lot there." He leaned forward, resting his elbows on his knees. "But I'm thinking long-term. 6 months, a year from now. Once you've got some stability under your feet. Would you be open to having a conversation then? About what kind of position?" "We're developing a new customer experience division. Right now we have customer service, but it's scattered across different departments. We want to centralize it, make it more strategic. We need someone who understands not just how to solve problems, but how to prevent them. Someone who can build systems, train teams, think bigger picture." Rebecca felt her pulse quicken. "That sounds like management." "Eventually, yes. But you'd start as a senior specialist, working directly with me and our operations director, learning the business, developing the framework. And if you prove yourself, which I think you will, we'd move you into a leadership role." "Why me?" Rebecca asked. "You spent 90 minutes with me. You don't really know what I can do." David smiled. "I spent 90 minutes listening to how you think, how you approach problems, How you care about doing things right, not just doing them fast. That tells me everything I need to know. But listen, I'm not trying to pressure you. Take the job at DataLink, do great work there. And when you're ready, when you feel stable enough to explore other options, give me a call. He pulled out another business card and wrote something on the back. That's my direct cell. Not many people have it, but I want you to. Because I meant what I said about paying it forward. Someone gave me a chance when I needed it most. Now it's my turn to do that for someone else. Rebecca took the card, her eyes stinging with tears again. I don't understand why you're being so kind to me. Maybe because I remember what it's like to feel invisible. To walk into rooms and feel like nobody sees your potential, just your circumstances. You're not invisible, Rebecca. And your circumstances don't define you. She couldn't speak. She just nodded, clutching the business card like it was made of gold. David stood up. I've got to get back to work. My assistant is probably having a panic attack by now, but I'm glad we got stuck in that elevator together. Not many people would have handled it the way you did. Thank you, Rebecca managed. For everything. For listening. For making the call. For believing in me when I didn't believe in myself. That's what we do for each other. David said simply. That's how this whole thing works. We lift each other up. He shook her hand one more time, then walked toward the elevator bank. Rebecca watched him go, this man who'd been a complete stranger 4 hours ago and who'd just changed her entire life. She left the building and stepped out into the afternoon sunshine. The city looked different now, brighter somehow, more full of possibility. Her phone buzzed with a text from Mrs. Chen. Kids are asking when you're coming home. Should I give them lunch? Rebecca typed back quickly. On my way now, and Mrs. Chen, I got the job. 3 dots appeared, then, oh honey, I'm so happy for you. Rebecca caught the bus home, and for once she didn't stress about the fare. She had a job now. In 2 weeks, she'd have money coming in. Real money. Enough to pay rent, buy groceries, maybe even start saving a little. When she got to her apartment building, she could hear Tommy and Lily before she even opened Mrs. Chen's door. They were playing some kind of game that involved a lot of running and laughing. Mommy, Lily crashed into her legs the moment she walked in. Hey, baby girl. Rebecca scooped her up, breathing in the sweet smell of her daughter's hair. Did you get the job? Mrs. Chen asked, her eyes hopeful. I got the job, Rebecca said, and saying it out loud made it feel real. I start Monday. Mrs. Chen clapped her hands together. I knew it. I just knew something good was going to happen today. I could feel it. Tommy ran over, wrapping his arms around Rebecca's waist. Does this mean we can get pizza for dinner? Rebecca laughed, really laughed for the first time in months. You know what? Yes, we're getting pizza tonight. The good kind from Marco's with extra cheese. And breadsticks? Tommy asked hopefully. And breadsticks. The kids cheered, and Mrs. Chen smiled so wide her eyes crinkled at the corners. Rebecca thanked her for watching them, promised to tell her all the details later, and took her children home. That night, after the pizza was gone and the kids were in bed, Rebecca sat at her small kitchen table. The eviction notice was still there, but it didn't feel as scary anymore. She'd call the landlord tomorrow, explain that she had a job now, ask if she could set up a payment plan for what she owed. She pulled out David's business card and looked at it. The phone number on the back was written in neat handwriting. She ran her finger over it, still amazed that this was real. Her phone buzzed. Another text from the unknown number. I forgot to mention something. That signing bonus Michael mentioned? Make sure you ask Jennifer about it tomorrow. They sometimes forget to process it right away. Rebecca hadn't heard anything about a signing bonus. She texted back. What signing bonus? Check your email. I might have suggested to Michael that you could use a little help getting on your feet. Consider it a welcome gift. Rebecca opened her email app with shaking hands. There it was, from Jennifer in HR, sent 20 minutes ago. The subject line read, Signing bonus, action required. She opened it. The email explained that she was being offered a one-time signing bonus of $3,000 to be paid with her first paycheck. All she had to do was sign the attached form, $3,000. Rebecca put her head down on the table and cried. But this time they were tears of relief, of gratitude, of hope. She texted David back, "I don't know how to thank you." His response came quickly. "Thank me by being great at what you do. And someday, when you see someone else who needs a hand, you'll know exactly what to do." Rebecca smiled through her tears. She would. She absolutely would. She got up and walked to the kid's bedroom. Tommy was sprawled across his bed, one arm hanging off the side. Lily was curled up with her stuffed rabbit, her thumb in her mouth. Rebecca stood in the doorway watching them sleep. "Everything's going to be okay now," she whispered. "Mommy's got this." And for the first time in a very long time, she actually believed it. The elevator had gotten stuck that morning. But maybe, Rebecca thought, maybe it had stopped exactly when it was supposed to. Maybe she'd needed to be trapped in that small space with a stranger who turned out to be so much more. Maybe the universe had been trying to tell her something, that she wasn't alone, that she was stronger than she knew, that sometimes, when everything seems to be falling apart, it's actually falling into place. She went back to the kitchen, sat down, and signed the bonus paperwork. Then she opened her laptop and started looking up daycares in the area. Good ones, with qualified teachers and safe playgrounds. Places where Tommy and Lily could thrive while she worked. Tomorrow she'd call the landlord. She'd pay off what she owed. She'd start planning for Monday, but tonight she just sat there feeling grateful. For elevators that break down. For strangers who listen. For second chances that come when you least expect them. For the reminder that no matter how dark things get, there's always a door that can open. Sometimes you just have to be patient enough to wait for it.